still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation, and I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
Former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, like a lot of people, anxious to see what Special Counsel Robert Mueller has found in almost 2 years of investigation. And we're back now with the panel. Well, Julie, first of all, explain to our viewers and to me why we get all these reports last week. The Mueller report is coming out Friday. No, it's coming out this week. Then suddenly we hear, no, we don't know when it's coming out, but it's not going to be this week. And secondly, what do your sources in the White House say? How worried are they really about the Mueller report?
So on the first point, I think what you're seeing is some wishful thinking on people's parts. We've been living with the Mueller investigation for quite some time, and there are signs that it is drawing to a conclusion, in part because Mueller has handed off some of these investigations. Some people on his team are moving on to other jobs. But the reality is, we're not going to know when this investigation is done until it is officially done, and Mueller tells Barr, the new Attorney General, that he's done. I think it's important to note that when that happens, that actually kickstarts another process, which is to figure out what becomes public. So that is not actually the end of this. In terms of your second question, there is some real anxiety in the administration about this report because it's just such an unknown. They are fairly confident that there's going to be nothing in the report that directly ties President Trump to Russia in terms of a phone call saying let's coordinate, some type of real smoking gun. But there are other areas where they have a lot less certainty. That relates to the question of obstruction around the firing of James Comey. Also, this Trump Tower meeting that happened where Don Jr. was present there. Anything that involves the president's family, his kids in particular, is of real concern. And again, it is such an unknown. They think they know what Mueller has based on conversations with lawyers who have represented people who have had conversations, but it remains a bit of a black box for them.
Well, I want to pick up with the one of the first points you made, which is after Mueller gives up his report, he gives it to William Barr, the new Attorney General, and according to the regulations, that is a confidential report, which Barr then has to decide how much to turn over to Congress and to the public. Here's what Barr said at his confirmation hearing.
I am going to try to get the information out there consistent with these regulations, and to the extent I have discretion, I will exercise that discretion to do that.
Karl, the Justice Department generally does not say anything about people it doesn't decide to charge. The Comey press conference on Hillary Clinton being a pretty dramatic
glaring example of not
following that. But you've also got the fact that for the last 2 years, House Republicans, particularly in the Intel Committee, were pressing the FBI to turn over a lot of information it didn't like, the FISA warrant. Isn't it going to be a little hard now to turn off that spigot if House Republicans or Barr or the president say, oh, no, we can't share this information?
Yeah, look, that's going to be the big battle, what's made public and what's not made public. And this rule was promulgated by Janet Reno after the expiration of the independent counsel statute in 1999. It's been in force ever since then. I'd make the argument this. I thought it was absolutely dreadful. It was the sanctimonious Jim Comey blasting Hillary Clinton after him declining to indict her. He had no authority to make that decision, incidentally. That was a decision that should have been made at DOJ. But having made that decision, taking unto himself the power to do that, then deciding not to indict her and then trashing her was bad for this is several hundred years of American jurisprudence tossed out.
Let me just ask you this. So, according to the Justice Department legal guidelines, they can't indict a president. So the only person who could bring a president, I'm not saying that there's anything to do, is Congress. Don't you have to share any information with Congress?
You get to the critical moment.
I sometimes kind of do.
Brilliantly. I mean, but that is the key question. If they decline to indict the president, because presidents should not be indicted while they're in office. That's the one thing that might need to be made public, because that would need to be taken into consideration by Congress, which holds the ultimate power of impeachment. But short of that, I don't think that they should make anything public, because that's not what we should do in our system. Comey showed why that was wrong.
We're running out of time here, so I want to get to another subject, and that is Michael Cohen, the president's former fixer, former lawyer, is going to testify in public before the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, this very day that President Trump sits down with Kim Jong-un in Vietnam. We asked you for questions for the panel about that, and Barry Zalma tweeted this: why does the Congress have no respect for the president? Josh, how do you answer Barry about the decision by the House Oversight Committee to hold a hearing with Michael Cohen, who's clearly going to say bad things about the president, right in the middle of a summit?
Well, I think it's terrible, and I think it's a terrible precedent. I mean, there used to be, not so long ago, this agreement when a president was overseas that you hold fire on domestic political disputes. This one is absolutely the highest rung on the ladder of a political dispute. We're talking about a former aide to Mr. Trump who has proven time and again is very interested in trying to harm him politically, just at a moment when the president is sitting down for something that can only be described as of top national interest for the international security of our country. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous. One point I wanted to make in reference to whether this is public or not, we're not dealing with an intern escapade here as we were in the 90s with the Starr report. We're dealing with some sensitive information about a state actor of Russia interfering with elections. There is definitely going to be some things that are redacted here. I absolutely am confident the Democrats will use that as an opportunity to say that the DOJ is not sharing everything. But in the end, I think we're going to know everything that we need to know in this Mueller report.
By law.
Wait. Let me bring in one. And you've been pretty critical, I think it's fair to say, of this president. Do you have any problems with a House committee holding a hearing, a public hearing on national television with Michael Cohen when the president is over in Vietnam in a summit with Kim?
Yeah, I think it hurts us, the American people, in terms of the voice of the president, because I think Michael Cohen is likely to indict the president's character. He was the president's confidant, his fixer, and he's going to be talking about things like payoff, potentially criminal activity, being directed to involve himself at the president's will. So I think it is damaging. But remember, Michael Cohen was scheduled to have appeared much earlier. He delayed it. And this is just a consequence of that delay. So I don't think it was intentional action by the Congress in response to the questioner who suggested.
Well, I mean, I got 10 seconds. They could have waited till next week.
Well, they could have waited forever. But you know what? He's going to jail. And so really,
not till May.
No, but the point is he's going to jail. And the point was he was avoiding testimony, and they want to get him now.
Okay. Thank you, panel. See you next Sunday. And I will say it may be inappropriate, but it'll be good TV.